Okay, cool. So we're here today with Faini, DigiTech from LA, 15 years in the business, and delighted to have you on, Faini. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's great to have you on. Um, yeah, because I've come across your stuff maybe a year ago. Obviously you did the product stuff, but I mostly came across your stuff because of the survey that you do annually, and obviously a lot of the digi share that around to make sure people do it, and people do it to they put a little bit of time into it, like because it's a great asset to have when people do it correct. Yeah, so we're going to jump straight into it, Fanny. I sent you over a few questions beforehand, so we're gonna like kick off with those first. So maybe if we start with like the DigiTech survey. Um,
Okay.
so what kind of inspired you to actually start that? And maybe did you see it in a different industry and you were like, we need this in the DigiTech and the DigiOps space?
I don't know the timing exactly if it lined up with um, Rob, the photo editor's posting about different rates in the industry, and he was quizzing people on his Instagram account about what expected rates were for different departments. I don't know if that timing lined up with it, but I had thought about doing it for a while because I kept seeing people online asking about rates. What's your rate in this city? What's your rate in this city? What's the rate for this kit? And so it just made me think like it's such a niche industry and like there's no good place to go to ask other than online and your friends, but there should be a little more like established standards for this.
Mm,
Obviously there's like different um regions and economics going on across the world. So, like, what's a good rate in Los Angeles might be the best rate ever in another country or city. So, I wanted to make sure you could filter the data by city and just make this information available so people could start to, get a reasonable rate. Because I was seeing people being offered very like depressing lowball rates. And
yeah.
like that's always going to happen. You're going to always have a kind of a scummy production that tries to get everybody for nothing. So
Mm.
um,
It's
I
it's
just wanted
nice.
to get it out there and make it public that what should be normal.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah, because the nice bit about it as well, because obviously there's a little like people are always going to be a little bit nervous sharing their rates. So it's nice that it's anonymous as well. And you really get like an unfiltered representation then because people aren't nervous to see, oh, well, I can't be charging that because I haven't been in and stuff like this, so it's really nice to get like an honest actual rates because that's very hard to judge from someone who's new to the scene, and what to be charging.
yeah, the I tried to my best to make it anonymous, but with certain cities there might be so few people there that you could kind of like figure out who is who
Mm,
based on some of the other demographic questions. But I think if someone's really like being that nitpicky about the data, that they should be really concerned about other things.
yeah.
But
Last year, I think he got 250 in the data set. So how long does that take you to actually put it together and um how like where do you even start?
so I learned a lot between the first year and the second year of doing it. And like, this is not my forte, collecting this kind of information.
Yeah.
It like, how to present this data. So, for the second year, I had to put guardrails on it to kind of help make it easier. But it took me about 40 hours or so to get it all ready and presentable with the charts and graphs. Because I could have just like, here's a spreadsheet, and then everyone's gonna like scroll down to their city and look at the few results and then forget about it.
Mm,
But I wanted to like make it a little easier to digest, and I had to learn some new tricks with spreadsheets because there's some limitations to how data is collected and how it can be presented. So I had to do some wizardry to make that present right into a chart. based on the limits of like Google Sheets and some other stuff.
Yeah.
So that yeah, it people don't realize how much effort that took, and like it wouldn't matter if there was 50 responses or 5,000. It still it's a struggle for someone who's not savvy and doing all that.
That's a lot of time, especially for something that you're doing for the benefit of others a lot of the time. I've noticed that a lot of the applicants are from stateside, you know. Do you have any plans trying to obviously this call might help, but like to try and get other applicants from like Europe or the UK? I know it's obviously have a few from London as well, but do you have like a plan to try and diversify it slightly?
Well, based on analytics I have for my website and Reddit and Discord, like that's just where the majority of people active in these communities are based. Um, I know there's more people around the world. It's just, like different social medias are popular in different areas, and I'm not, I'm based in the US, so I kind of know what's here.
Mm,
I've kind of relied on my audience online to like help spread this amongst other countries. I would have liked to have seen more responses in the second year of doing the survey, but the I think some people were just, oh, I did this last year, don't worry about it. I give people a week to do it, and it takes
mm,
2 minutes, and some people just kind of put it on the back burner and then forgot about it. So
mm.
um, it's it's just one of those things that relies on people sharing it. It's with anything, uh, share it with friends, and
Mm,
then that helps everyone to some degree. Rising tide lifts all boats kind of thing. It's like
exactly.
you get more data here, you get more insight onto what
Mm.
is going on.
I presume you're doing it again this year, or
Um,
or did the 40 hours put you off?
if I can get someone to help, I will do it again.
Mm,
It's it's just a lot, and I've got one or two people that said they would help a bit with doing some of the spreadsheet work, and I've, you know, obviously it's like you have to limit some of the data entry, and it's better to provide a drop-down menu of a selection rather than let people type something in because
yeah.
there's going to be 12 different ways to spell United Kingdom apparently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So it's all the variations of like U, K, U dot K, like yeah. So
Yeah,
people
well,
don't think about like that seems like an easy way to just type in whatever, but at the back end, like it makes it harder to filter to the data. So you have to make all those entries exactly the same. Uh,
so it sounds like there's a lot of cleanup before you actually get going with the data.
yeah. So
A lot. Yeah.
yeah, but I mean, it seems like a lot of people found it helpful and it's been shared a lot. It's many thousands of views on the blog. So
Mm, great. So you have your field guide and then you also have products on your page.
mhm.
So talk to me about products. So when did you start doing the products? So out of 15
Um,
years, when did you decide, okay, here, look, these tools here, they're just not it. I need to create my own one. So what was the first product you did and how many times did it take to get it up and going?
well, so like I've always made my own stuff. And it's just because I didn't want to be limited by how something worked. So I wanted things to work for me, and I would have little issues with how some things worked. And so I made my own things. And then in 2019, I started to make some more stuff. I started to learn CAD a little more. In 2020, I um, started selling to others because people kept asking about things.
Mm,
So with that, I started to expand what I made and offered because I made some stuff that wasn't necessarily for me and the stuff I was using. And um, it's it's mostly been about like problem solving and making everybody's job easier because like we're using things in ways that they weren't necessarily intended. You know, a laptop's not supposed to be out in the beach or out in the desert or on a mountaintop, even though it's a portable computer or so. any little issues I have on set, I'll drive home or lie in bed and think about how to make it better. And so when I go to make something, like asking about prototyping and everything, like some things like work right away. Like I don't have to do several rounds of prototyping, and other things, um, I've filled up a bin full of things that didn't work out.
Yeah.
Uh,
And do you do those prototypes at home, or do you have a partner that does that with you? Um,
it varies. Some of my parts are industrial 3D printed nylon, which is done on like a $300,000 machine, and um, it's a very specific process that makes a lightweight but durable part that can't be manufactured in other ways. And then some of my stuff is aluminum and steel and
mm,
CNC machined, and so I don't have access to do that, but I do have a 3D printer here in my office that I can use, and I can print out and get a rough shape and make sure that tolerances are there.
mm,
And so that helps a lot. Other thing, like there's a few things that I just have to get one of them made and then test it out for a week or two and see what needs to change and move on from there.
okay. So going back to the question, what was the first product that you actually created?
I
So the first time you started doodling down, what was the first one?
well, the first things to as when I wanted to like try to turn this into a business was like a hard drive mount and
Oh,
just simple cable locks and power bank mount and a cable hook. Um,
oh,
very simple stuff because that's some of the stuff that was already tested and been using for a while. So I just scaled that up and got a lot of them. And now it's like with my hard drive mount, it's, there's well over 1,000 of those out there. It's probably close to 3,000 now. So,
crazy.
yeah.
And how do you manage stock control then within that? So obviously you have your tech job. So where does stock control come into this? That's a completely different skill set to what you'd be using
Uh,
on set, you know?
yeah, logistics is the hardest thing about all this, and people don't realize like the difficulty of that. It's it's a lot of it's in my head, which is terrible. But the website platform has a back end, so and I do inventory and count everything and list it there and have reminders when things get low. But at
Mm,
the same time, like one part might consist of 5 pieces from 5 different places, and so I have to source those parts if I don't have the parts. Like the hard drive mount is, it's got the main body, elastic cord, cord locks, heat shrink tubing, and then packaging. So those take quite a bit of manual effort because I have to cut all the elastic cord and tie it and assemble them. Uh,
mm,
but I've gotten it down to a good few minutes a piece, and it works out.
yeah. Do you enjoy making the stuff? Is it a bit of a wind down maybe after a day on set? Or I,
Yes,
I, I
some of it's a
unless
little more.
it's crazy out the door and you need to get them all done and then it's just more of a hassle.
Yeah, I try to always have something available. Like right now I'm quite low on camera holsters, but I have all the parts on the way for the next batch.
So I know myself, I got a camera holster from you a couple months back. I appreciate you sending it over once, twice, maybe three times it was. We eventually got there.
Yeah.
DPD or UPS or whoever it was wasn't exactly playing ball, but we got there eventually. But so the camera holster is like I've worked with a few of those. You know, there's a few different variations of it. Um,
Yeah.
I prefer your one just because it's a little bit kind of like thicker, you know, and it just feels sturdier. Because like even with like smaller cameras, like if you're dealing with a Leica, some of the other camera holsters, like it requires you to put in like another little insert on the inside and stuff, and it's just not as sturdy. Um, so do you see that as like out of popularity of product, what would be your most popular product that you'd see coming in and out the door, flying in and out?
Camera holsters up there. I think that might be number two or number three at the moment. Number one is the hard drive mount. Um, I've just been selling that longer. And then, the camera holster, there's probably a almost 900 of those out there now. Um, yeah,
Wild.
it's been popular. I've had a few revisions along the way. And now I think it's probably at its final form
Mm,
unless something really changes. But I just tried to make mine a little more versatile, and lightweight was a big concern for me. But it's been a good one. It doesn't work with every camera, as none of them do. Any of the camera holster, camera hoop devices out there, but um, there's the fine line of making something universal and making something work with
mm.
um, everything. Is You have to have some edge cases that aren't necessarily going to work out. So, and that's the trouble with all the variations out there. So,
Do you have any like exciting products that you're kind of developing in the background that you want to share, or you're gonna keep that to yourself and keep us guessing
I do have to kind of keep things
on the
a
DL,
little
on the down
quiet these
low?
days.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because uh,
It's a little
there's
bit of
some people
competition
digging.
knocking around
Yeah, and then yeah, there's some external factors at play now. It's not just people in this directly in the DigiTech industry right now. There's some people in factories in Taiwan and Hong Kong that are um, trying to eat people's lunches right now, um,
Yeah.
which is always going to happen. But yeah, I've always got something I'm working on. Like I have a notebook full of stuff that's you know waiting for me to figure out the right approach and the right materials because I'm a little bit limited in what I can do, but I don't have a manufacturing facility. I don't have a giant machine shop, which I would
Mm,
love to. But so me being able to keep prices low is a huge uh, part of what I'm doing. Yes, I could go around and sell something that's super premium and with a high price, but how many people are actually going to be able to afford that? So I want to keep everything affordable. Um, and also I have to factor in like popularity or like interest, and some things just aren't worth doing because if I'm only going to make two or three of them, what's the point?
mm,
If I can, make a few dozen or 100 or more, then that increases my incentive to move forward with it.
mm.
Um, so, you know, just last week I was, you know, hopped out of the shower and had an idea for something and started drawing in CAD and realized, oh, this probably won't work out. So, you know,
Mm.
maybe that'll inspire me to do something else in the future. But
Yeah.
um,
Eventually all the little pieces will come together in your brain and make something
yeah,
properly, you know? Yeah. Um, and with all the different digis and other manufacturers, if you want to call that, now working on different products, do you ever um like touch base or collaborate with any of the other people creating, um, saying that, oh, that's the cool product. I love the way you used that material, or how did you do that? Is there any of that kind of going on in the background, or is everyone keeping
I
to be themselves?
um, I mean, I can't speak for everyone, but I've definitely like reached out to Limonus a bit and
Mm,
said good job on some things and offered some insight onto a few things, and like he's done the same. I think there's a lot of mutual respect for each other, and um, I think there's started to be a little less of that with some of the people who've started to get into it recently, but um, it's I think as a whole, everybody knows it's a small community and
Mm,
you want to help each other out and everybody could just copy and paste everyone else's thing for sure, but you know, that's kind of a jerk move and I
yeah. But
uh
it's actually kind of nice that some people are developing similar products. So there is that push for innovation and push for
yeah,
getting
for
it better
sure.
than the other person's one, or like having a
Yeah.
different feature than the other person's one, and that can only benefit everyone involved, because
Yeah,
everyone's
for sure.
pushing.
Like you definitely like if you want to make something and something out there already exists, like you need to like find something about that to improve it just a little bit more. And maybe it's improving it for you and others might not agree that that improves it for them. And that's fine. That's having a choice is a great thing. If there's only one of something out there, then everybody's kind of stuck with it. So
Mm,
it's good to see where people push things and like, you know, even when I make a product and send it out there, like people will use it in a way you never intended to. And that can
mm,
be good or bad because but that can lead to some inspiration to like make something better or change it. So it's
mm.
cool to see what other people have been able to come up with for sure.
So with your products that you develop and they kind of get through the prototype phase and you're happy enough with the functionality of them, do you give them to one or two other tech friends and ask them to kind of test them on set to make sure that you're happy with the quality and you kind of put them to their paces beforehand? Or at that stage where you've gone through all the phases, are you happy enough to go into full production then?
I mostly do the testing myself. I bring it on set and let the other people on set use it. There's a lot of stuff that people that work with me have used that never saw the light of day. I mostly try to, if I'm questioning something's durability, I'll try to like overbuild it to a little bit, but a lot of stuff I'm making isn't like something that's going to bear a ton of weight
Mm,
or um, have crazy impact to it. So it's mostly just me on set and I've taken a hammer to some things to test them out but
yeah. And how did that
and
hold up?
uh actually I like when I was testing mounts for the camera holster I just screwed the mount into the Mayfer clamp and started smacking it with a hammer and I actually ripped the screws out of the Mayfer clamp and the mount was fine.
There you go.
So um that worked out.
Yeah, that's great. I'd say you're delighted with that. Like that's a
Yeah.
win, strong win. With the product side of your business, what is the more challenging part? I know we mentioned stock before and keeping that in. And is there any other elements that people don't really see that is really tough? Could be even like when you do decide, okay, we're going into production now, back in that production costs and taking that risk on board that it's actually going to sell.
Um, it's yeah, like some things I have to like kind of put a feeler out there to see if people will be interested in it because I'll try to do pre-orders now. Like at the beginning, I didn't like to do that because I don't want to buy 100 of a part and then have that huge expense and they just sit in a shelf and collect dust. So now that I've become a little more established and people know that I'll actually like follow through with delivering a product, which can be tough sometimes. Uh, I use those pre-orders to gauge the interest, and so I'm able to like help cover the production cost and the packaging and everything, and get that ready. And it helps me find a little time to refine some stuff. Whereas I might just try to make something and get it ready, and then I made a flaw. So like having a little extra time through a pre-order process has helped a lot. I do try to like bounce some like user feedback sometimes. It's the logistics. Just going back to that, that's one of the toughest things is putting all the parts together. It's not just like it's timing delivery of things. You know, some things I have like a 3 week lead time on. Some things I can get next day. So
Mm,
like screws, like sometimes I forget to order screws and I have to overnight screws, even though I buy them by the thousand.
cool.
There's a lot of evenings just having a drink and counting screws and
Counting
putting them in Ziploc
screws.
bag.
Wow, exciting stuff. It's
Folding cardboard boxes and wrapping up things in bubble wrap. It's
yeah. So
so
can you do the cardboard boxes now with your eyes closed?
so, some of them there's
Yeah.
several different sizes, so some of them are a little easier than others.
Yeah. Have you done like a timed challenge or something of like 10
No, I
boxes
usually
time
just try to
yourself?
like zone out and forget about it.
Chow podcast on or something. Okay, so I threw in a bit of a silly question here at the end, because I think we might have like 3 minutes left. So if you were a mounting accessory, what mounting accessory would you be?
That's yeah, that's a little weird one, but I think like it definitely be something that's universal. Like, I hate proprietary stuff.
Okay.
It's pretty like aggressive toward your user or customer. So I would probably be like a NATO rail or Arca Swiss clamp,
Yeah.
something that's a little more standard and well known. Like, uh, it's it's like for some reason like 3/8 16 screws and threads became a little bit of a standard when it never should have been that way. Quarter 20 far superior in a lot of use cases and a little more universal, but
Mm,
we ended up with both. But
yeah.
yeah, something just universal and
Yeah.
not proprietary.
Okay. Okay. And would you have like a gloss finish or a matte finish? What kind of finish would you
Definitely
try?
matte.
Matte.
N
Yeah.
nothing glossy,
No.
nothing shiny, nothing showy,
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
low
Sweet.
key. This will be the first time a lot of people will see me, so
Okay, okay. Well there you go. Yeah, but thank you very much for jumping off, honey. Um, it's been great to chat and hopefully I'll see you in Dublin soon.
yeah,
We'll
for
catch that
sure.
pint.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's been good seeing the videos you're putting out. Keep doing that. Those will start gaining more traction and it's good to see other people helping out the community and industry.
Yeah, I think it's just great just to share the knowledge, because
Yeah, for
when I
sure.
started, I remember looking up YouTube and all this stuff, and there's especially on YouTube, there's very little actually on YouTube of kind of how-tos
Yeah.
or it's when you're getting like starting off. Very, very at the like very basically starting off so that's what I'm trying to do is just kind of like share the knowledge so everyone has it. um
Yeah.
and kind of connect people, so yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I appreciate that. Thanks for doing that.
See, see.
Yeah.
Right. I'll catch you soon, and thanks very much for jumping on again.
Yeah, take care. Have a nice day.